I am Heather West. I'm here to talk about cybersecurity for AI that acts. You may well have heard about AI today, a great deal. You probably have heard about agentic AI. I want to talk a little bit about the cybersecurity of AI agents and how it changes vulnerability management, how we think about vulnerabilities, and what to think about as we move into a world where our AI isn't just responding to things. We all use AI all day, asking questions, doing a search, recommendation engines. That's AI responding to something. AI agents are different in that they do things. They go out, they can make a plan, it can be multi-step, they can check to see whether it works, they can adjust their plan. So human-like that we often anthropomorphize them a great deal. I am very guilty of that. And there are lots of kinds of agents, the chatbots, customer service agents. I will say I recently had to get a return and exchange for a device. The whole thing went through an agent who verified that my device was under warranty and needed a replacement, initiated the logistics, did a great job, write up something in the back end, had a hiccup, but it was honestly incredibly impressive. A human didn't touch it until I said, hey, something went wrong a week later. So our agents are running our smart homes, adjusting temperatures, figuring out preferences over time. The AI agents also break security assumptions. They are incredibly dynamic. They are making decisions and executing them. They are calling tools and APIs. They're handling credentials, and they're connected and integrated across systems. That is really their value. If I ask a chatbot to write me an email and they write it in the chatbot, that's great. If I ask it to write me an email and it populates into my email, that's pretty cool. Also a little worrisome from a cybersecurity perspective. So once software can act, some of these failures become a little bit more interesting from a vulnerability management perspective. Because we're not just talking about static code defects, we're talking about very dynamic behaviors. So one example, you may have heard of OpenClaw. This is just something that allows you to make your own agent that runs around and does what you ask it to do. The first government to issue a warning about it is China, and they basically said, hey, if you misconfigure this, it could go badly. I'll leave it at that, but I think it is very, very true. At the end of the day, these agents can do really cool things, but anything that can do really cool things can also do problematic or bad things. And one of the things to look at is what that attack surface looks like. That attack surface is a little bit different. We're not talking about a tool that impacts one thing or an API. It's dynamic. It's chaining tools. It's thinking about how to connect actions together. It has third-party skills. Go out and say, I want my agent to be able to do this thing. You get a skill, you add it to your agent. We've got non-human identities. When I ask an agent to go out and check my systems for fraud and security risks, am I asking, or is a non-person entity asking those questions, or is it more like a traditional API call? These are pieces that, from a policy perspective, are somewhat addressed, but folks are working on, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. So there are a few things that I wanted to talk about just to whet your appetite, get you thinking. When we're thinking about vulnerabilities, like I said, there has been an evolution. This isn't new, to be clear, but AI agents accelerate it. We're not looking at static problems anymore, static problems in code and CVEs. Behavioral exploits don't necessarily fit neatly into the boxes we've created. We have to think about runtime observability. That is, can I see what's happening? Do I understand what's happening? Can I monitor it? We're thinking about supply chain. Again, this isn't new, but these agents have a whole different dimension of supply chain risks. And as with many AI systems, I want to think about human checkpoints. Where do I get to say stop? If I told my agent to go out and plan a vacation for me, when do I have to say keep going? When do I say this is a problem? Just you get to stop being my travel agent now. So one of my takeaways is that your security practices for AI agents, they are the same as software. These are software tools, but they also need some special considerations. Least privilege. I think as a general practice, cybersecurity professionals know that they need to get least privilege on all of these systems. We don't want to give too much access to anything, but for something that's dynamically acting, running around, you have to be really careful about what those boundaries look like and how you scope access. Guardrails and enforcement, think about input output, and tool use validation. And then identity infrastructure, which I think is particularly interesting. The idea that we have a new category of services and users, that agents are both services and users in interesting ways. This is something that policymakers and standards bodies are thinking about a great deal. NIST has put out, I don't know, 2 or 3 things over the last few weeks that are quite interesting. A request for information about securing the AI systems themselves, a concept paper on identity and authorization for AI agents. These are open calls at this moment. I believe they're both maybe due in March, but thinking about what we need from a practices and standards perspective to think about AI agent security. The EU is actively talking about how AI agents do and don't fit into their high-risk systems categories. That is ongoing, even though they appear to have missed a deadline a week or 2 ago. We are hearing from a lot of folks about the push for better transparency, inventories, audit logs for their own systems as agents get integrated. And I think consumers will be seeing emerging marketplaces, more commerce, more customer service chatbots going out and doing things for you. I did not put contact information in my slides, so I'll say just come find me or find me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat. Thank you.